Good morning, everybody. I think we're going to get started in respect for everybody's time. This is MJ Lawrence. I'm here at ROOST on the call today. We have Jim McKenna. We also have our Director of Marketing, Michelle Clement. We have our Director of Digital Strategy, Jason Lawrence. And we also have Savannah Doviak, who is our media buyer, as well as special projects and many other special guests. So we're going to get started, and I'd like to welcome Senator Little. She's here with us this morning. Senator Little, as well as Chairman Gilliland from Essex County, as well as Chairman Farber from Hamilton County. And we also have Assemblyman Dan Steck on the line. So Senator Little, are you available to welcome us and let us know what's happening on the state level? Dan Steck, would you like to go ahead while Senator Little is getting on the call? Assemblyman Steck, are you also available?
Mary Jane.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Dan Steck on the line. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Welcome.
Oh, well, hey, thanks for having me on today. I hope everyone had a nice Memorial Day weekend. We certainly had the great weather for it, the ROOST kind of Chamber of Commerce kind of weekend weather for it, but you know, sadly, not our normal Memorial Day weekend. I just want to thank you all for continuing to work hard and try to find ways to safely get our region restarted. I think it's great that the North Country was in the first batch to go ahead and get to phase one. And I think the key to success moving forward is to do everything that we all can to keep us within those metrics so that we can continue to progress to phase 2 and 3 and start, you know, rebuilding our businesses and getting people back to work and reestablishing our economy and our, you know, from a government perspective, our revenue stream so that we can do all the programs that we need to support. So if there's anything that my office can do to assist anybody in the North Country, not just my assembly district, but anybody calls, we will do everything we can to try to assist you. So, you know, don't be shy. My office is staffed up and running. We have been, and I'd love to see us transition away from focusing on stuff other than unemployment claims. So thanks for having me on the call, and I look forward to listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Chairman Gilliland from Essex County, are you available to give us a update from the county?
Well, sure. We are, you know, as Assemblyman Steck alluded, you know, we are in phase 1, and we hopefully will be pushed into phase 2 by the end of the week here. And it's hard to believe that we're almost at phase 2. On the 29th is probably the earliest possibility we can do it. We have asked that the phase 2 business guidelines be posted on the ESG website or on the New York Forward website as soon as possible. I know that's been somewhat of a consternation when dealing with trying to find out exactly what the guidelines are. I will admit that all the processes and executive orders and guidelines and stuff has become a pretty hefty and difficult website to move around. I would, you know, don't hesitate to call ESD or myself or any of the, you know, or ROOST or anybody else to try to work through it. The one thing I would like to emphasize, particularly in Essex County and in the North Country, is for the businesses as these come up, as the guidelines come up, to make sure that they do the business affirmations on the New York Forward website, that they've met all the requirements and are doing all the posting and stuff. I will say that so far the response on phase one businesses has been light. And phase one is a pretty an easy phase to get through. I mean, it's construction, manufacturing, and curbside retail. As we get into more phase two and phase three, where more and more of the public are going to have more and more face-to-face opportunities and things, and more opportunities for spreading of infections, it's going to become critical that these businesses, go online and do these affirmations and operate in a COVID-safe manner. But it is a requirement. So if there's a complaint or anything else like that, the code enforcement officer, Department of Health, et cetera, is going to want to see those. So I would encourage every business to go ahead and do that once the guidelines are posted on the websites. I don't think it hasn't come to anybody's attention that the response has not been very heavy. But as we move into phase two, phase three, hopefully phase four, then it will come to people's attention. So need to get ahead of that curve. Otherwise, all I would do is warn, that this was Memorial Day weekend. There was a lot of people in the North Country, a lot of people come in Essex County. The governor opened up campgrounds, kind of late in the weekend. And the public campgrounds are opened up. And so we're going to get more and more visitors up here. Ergo, we're going to get more and more opportunities for spread of infection, and hotspots or increases or hospitalizations and things like that will definitely slow this process down. So we're not out of the woods yet. So please, make sure that all the requirements and procedures that are laid out are followed. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Gilliland. And we have a couple things that I was remiss in addressing due to the fact that I was a little concerned about the issues with our link. But feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and we will answer them at the appropriate time during our presentation or at the end of the meeting. If you're on the line and you cannot see the screen, you can text me your questions at 518-637-7188. Thank you again, Chairman Gilliland. Chairman Farber, are you on the phone?
I am. Thank you
for joining us this morning from Hamilton County.
It's a pleasure to be on. I really don't have much to add beyond what Assemblyman Steck and Sean had to say. It certainly was an extraordinary Memorial Day weekend in many, many ways. Kudos to the business people that I've seen operating within Hamilton County and the North Country region. I have seen people just perform in exemplary ways in trying to implement the guidelines, induce people to wear masks, induce people to distance. And as Sean pointed out, that's what's critical here. We need to be able to get to phase two of the reopening. We need to be able to keep the numbers in check. And honestly, kudos to the tourists that I saw in the area. So many of them that were here, that were in the area, were wearing masks, were doing the right thing. I drove by a couple of the beaches. People were spread out. I think people are just really conscious of the need to work together as a team. That's very heartening, and it's obviously very necessary if we're going to get reopened in the near future. But thank you for allowing me to join you, and I can't wait to hear what others have to say.
Thank you, Chairman Farber. Is Senator Little on the line by chance? I'm not sure if she was able to join us this morning. We'll keep checking back to see if Senator Little is with us. We're going to move on now to the Department of Health updates. Linda Beer from Essex County Public Health, are you available to give us an update? Erica Mahoney from Hamilton County Public Health, are you on the line? Where is everybody? Matt, I know that you're on. This is Matt Scollin from Adirondack Health. Would you like to give us an update?
Sure. Thanks, MJ.
You're
Can you hear me?
welcome. Yes.
Okay, great. Quickly, an update on testing. As many of you have seen, our mobile testing clinic has been out and about. We've been in Saranac Lake, Lake Placid, Tupper Lake, Keene, and St. Regis Falls, conducting hundreds of swabs and blood draws over the past 2 weeks. We want to reinforce there's no out-of-pocket cost to get tested, but you do need to schedule an appointment. You can do so by calling 518-897-2462, and I'll go ahead and put that number in the chat box after we're done here. This week we'll be at Marcy Field in Keene today from 11 to 3. We'll be at Northwood School in Lake Placid tomorrow from 11 to 3. We'll be at LP Quinn Elementary School in Tupper Lake on Thursday from 11 to 3. And we'll be at Long Lake Central School in Hamilton County on Friday from 11 to 3. We're testing anyone and everyone. So that's essential workers, that's unemployed, health insurance, no health insurance. Anybody that wants a test is able to get a test. We want to really keep those numbers up and continue the safe reopening trajectory that we're on right now. Be remiss not to thank Trudeau Institute for helping us make this possible with their 4,000 units of viral transport medium, which has really enabled us to expand our testing. We've reopened most of our primary care clinics and most of our specialty practices. We are utilizing telehealth for those visits whenever it's appropriate and practical. Dental and ear, nose, throat remain closed because of the increased risk for transmission. We've expanded our medical imaging and physical therapy rehab services. But we want people to know that things are going to feel different for a while, maybe a long while. So there, for example, there's less chairs in our waiting rooms. You're going to be asked to wait in your vehicle until our staff is ready to see you, and then they'll call or text you in your car to have you come in. We're going to be taking your temperature at every front door whenever you come into the building and asking you a couple of questions about how you're feeling and your wellness. Everyone's going to be wearing a mask, both patients and staff, whenever medically possible, and maintaining physical distance to the greatest degree possible. We just have several groups been working on this. We're trying to keep with national and international best practices to make sure we're doing everything we can to make people feel safe coming to the hospital if and when they need to. Lastly, quickly on the economy, like everyone else, we're waiting to see what the summer season is going to look like. We continue to plan for all possible scenarios. We want to remind everyone that as a hospital, we take everybody. We're extending a genuine welcome to our visitors and second homeowners, and we're encouraging them at the same time to embrace those practices that seem to have served the area rather well. That's maintaining your physical distance, self-isolating upon arrival, particularly if you're coming to stay for a while, wearing a mask in public, avoiding large groups, and I think that's about all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. In regards to where you're hosting the testing, that is on the Adirondack Health Facebook page, and we will also be sharing that on our ROOST Regional Office of Sustainable Tourism Facebook page. And then, Matt, I think that you're going to post in the chat the number to call to make an appointment.
I am, and I unfortunately have to jump off. I have a 10 o'clock call, so thank you for giving me time to talk, and I'll post that number on my way out.
Thank you. And we're going to go back to Erica from Hamilton County Public Health as she was on the phone. Erica, are you unmuted?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome.
Good morning. I wanted to give you a little update. So we've done a little over 400 tests to date for Hamilton County residents, and we still only have 4 positive cases, so that's good news. We will be monitoring people and our numbers throughout the phases and just kind of seeing what Memorial Day weekend did bring into the county. I agree that I saw a lot of social distancing and a lot of masks that were used. The businesses were really busy, which is good to see. So hopefully with the influx of people that we're keeping our numbers relatively low so we continue to move through the phases. But I think an important thing is just to continue to promote social distancing, encourage your businesses to go on to New York Forward and do the training that's on there, and also just encourage mask wearing. In order for us to move through the phases, we have to continue to follow these good practices, and hopefully we'll be into phase 4 as soon as we possibly can. So thank you.
Thank you very much for the update. Jim McKenna from the Regional Office of Sustainable Tourism. We are going to talk a little bit about the guidelines for reopening.
Okay, I'm sure everybody's overall familiar. One thing I'm going to point out is that there was confusion that we heard over this past week about lodging facilities to be open. Lodging was considered to be essential businesses from the start, so they continue to be open. So lodging can open and are open, and we did see some of that activity over the past weekend. Lodging will have to go, just like all businesses, like Chairman from Essex said, have to go through and do the affirmation. So that's processing. So phase 1, at this point, it looks like we're going to get through it into phase 2, which is planned to start on Friday. Now, again, remember, these phases are determined by us staying within the metrics. We are staying within the metrics at this point. There's 2 groups that are charting and following the metrics, both at the Albany level, and then for the North Country region, we have a group made up of the county chairmen plus a few other people that are watching the metrics on a daily basis to make sure we're staying in there. We have not heard reports from over the weekend yet. There's going to be a call at 2 o'clock, and the dashboard is updated almost real time, so we'll be able to follow that. We anticipate that we are going to follow the metrics, and we will go into phase 2 at the end of this week, which would be professional services, finance, and insurance, retail, administrative, real estate, and rental is how it's identified. We can't emphasize enough that each individual business, as well as residents overall, follow the guidelines that's on forward.ny.gov. And also for individual businesses, the Empire State Development site has information for essential businesses. Campground information went up on that site, I believe, today. So both sites are being updated on a regular basis, and we encourage everybody to follow those. We did hear from Erica and from Chairman Farber and Chairman Gilliland that there was pretty impressive about how this past weekend looked. We've heard mixed signals, to be very clear, meaning that we did hear of instances where there were not a lot of social distancing in all cases, that masks weren't as prevalent in some areas as they were in others. And I guess that it's very important for 2 reasons why we must encourage the social distancing and following the guidelines, and encourage mask or face coverings across the board in every situation. Because we've got a responsibility primarily to our communities, number 1, and our residents as we move into these phases. We have some of the lowest infection rates in the state, and to maintain that, we have to set the example for people coming into the area and continuing to communicate with them how important it is to follow the guidelines and exceed the guidelines at some time. So it's just that if we're going to get through these 4 phases and we're going to be responsible to our communities, and while we're maintaining our businesses, it's up to everybody to help get the message out, get it out in a positive and kind way, that for all of us to move forward and get through the summer and position for a point that we can move forward, we must really hit those guidelines and really help people understand how important it is. I heard of, I think, 4 or 5 cases over the weekend in the whole North Country region, and there was probably more, where people questioned that businesses were following guidelines, that there was people entering retail stores, there were garage sales going on, there were other things happening, and the enforcement is something that, we have to sort of a little bit ourselves do it, but there can be potential enforcement provided by the state and the code officers as well. But I just want to emphasize how important it is to maintain our process through the 4 phases to show the state we're serious about keeping the infection rates in our region at the low levels while we're entertaining economic activity for our businesses. So we all have responsibility there, and we have to do it and feel confident about doing it and doing it in a positive and a kind way. So if there's any questions, MJ, on that, we can take them.
Yeah, well, we're not going to really address questions at this point, Jim, because we're going to try and you know, condense all of this. But I think the important thing, just to reiterate, is the impact of what we're doing or not doing won't be, it'll be as our ability to move from one phase to the other. So although, Jim, you said we need to, as a community, set the example about wearing masks and social distancing, we also need to help better educate our travelers, which ROOST is working actively on, different metrics, different platforms to help get the message out before the traveler gets here as to what the guidelines and expectations are. And Michelle Clement is going to talk about that more when we get to our different phases of opening the local Kickstart. Also, just to be clear, there's questions in regards to Memorial Day and parades. And Jim, do you just want to touch on what the guidelines are? Our understanding is still 10 or less people for a gathering. Is that correct?
Yes, the governor reinforced that over the weekend, that the group gatherings of 10 or less is what in the guidelines right now. And we'll see how that shakes out and breaks out as we move forward. But 10 people or less is the maximum in groups. And just reinforce something that you said, Mary Jane. It's not only what ROOST is putting out there, that everybody that has communications with potential visitors to the region should take the little extra time to put those guidelines out and stress with the people coming in how important it is that they follow or exceed those guidelines. So we all have a responsibility in our outgoing communications, whether you're a hotel, private business, emails with individual visitors, but reinforce how important that is for our region.
Okay, thank you very much. Jason, can you go to the next slide, please? We have Christy Kennedy. She's the Vice President of Marketing for the North Country Chamber, and Christy's on the call, and she's going to touch base and give us an update on upcoming training. And Christy, there's also in the chat, if you could post the link to the safety guideline form that people need to fill out when you have a moment after your presentation, that would be very helpful.
Sure, no problem. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I have a big mouth, so usually people hear me well. So one of the things at the North Country Chamber that we're really trying to do is help businesses really understand and navigate this new business environment that we're all coming back to. So as I did in the last community call, we have some new seminars and webinars scheduled, so I want to get those out. Retail. We have one today, May 26th at 1 p.m. You could still sign up for this. So anyone in a retail facility, also anyone who has office staff and things like that, that is going to be covered in this as well. On Wednesday, we are going to do bringing your workforce back. There's been some changes and updates to employment law. Also answering some of those questions if you have employees who are saying, well, I don't feel safe coming back to work. I don't have childcare. It's kind of disrupted. How do you answer those correctly? And what are the laws and what are the things you can do? And then we also have on Friday a COVID-19 training for hair salons and barbershops. I know we're all very anxious to start looking our best again, and we want them to open safely. And with that, May 29th at 1 p.m., we have a getting back to business for hair salons and barbershops. I do want to point out that last week we did have a training for restaurants and one for lodging. Those are both available on our website to listen to. All the slides, all the handouts, the presentation, everything is linked on that site as well. And just other things to know, we do have a COVID-19 webinar coming down the pipeline for campgrounds. I know you guys got to open yesterday, but there's probably still some questions and things like that. So we are putting one of those on the schedule. I will get that to MJ as soon as possible, and I know she'll share it with the group. We also have a tele-town hall with the New York State Comptroller. If anybody has an interest in hearing what he has to say and what the direction of the state is, that's going to be June 2nd. And then we do have another tele-town hall on June 4th with the Deputy General of Canada on June 4th, and you can find that information at northcountrychamber.com. So that's what we've got going on. As always, you can reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions or point you in the right direction. But we look forward to helping everybody reopen.
Thank you very much. Christy,
Yeah.
with that link to the safety guideline form, there's also an affirmation. The affirmation is just an overall, it's not specific to one industry. Is that correct? Do you know?
I'll have to check. I'm actually pretty sure the safety plan is a general plan. The affirmation is specific per industry. So when you go on that forward.ny.gov and you click on your phase, when you see whichever, so under retail, it actually has an affirmation that's suitable for retail. Is from my understanding last I looked, but they could have changed it over the weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, those affirmations will be continuing to be updated by the state, and the forward.ny.gov site is constantly being updated and more guidelines coming out by industry.
Okay.
And I see there's a question, a lot of the lodging properties are looking for their affirmation. We did poke the state about that. Since they were essential, there's not affirmations up yet for essential businesses. So you can continue to operate, continue to go. There will be an affirmation, but it's just not there yet. They're assuming you're operating under those guidelines right now. So you will see it roll out, but there is not one yet for lodging.
That's correct.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
We are going to welcome now, on the next slide is the Department of Environmental Conservation, Dave Winchell. Dave, are you on the line and unmuted, giving us an update on hiking and parking for 2020 summer season? Michelle Clement, can you please, we can go back to Dave, but can you just message him and make sure that he has the right link, please? And so while we're waiting for Dave, we can go back to this, but Jim McKenna, could you give us an update on summer events? Jim, you might have to unmute yourself.
Thank you, MJ. I don't know what I'd do without you.
I don't either.
You know, I think everybody's certainly aware that the event scene throughout the North Country has changed radically for the summer at this point. Certainly June events, and now we're hearing some into July are being postponed and in some cases canceled. The executive order that the governor has for mass gatherings is still in effect. As we just heard, you know, groups of 10 or more are not allowed. So, you know, the event activity, monitor regularly and to see where the state is in following the guidelines. A lot of event organizers have sort of customized their event to meet some of the guidelines, which is certainly possible, but we're encouraging everybody to follow the guidelines, check with your county and check with your Department of Public Health as you're investigating these events. You know, we can go through the events that we know that have been postponed or canceled at this point, but clearly share them with us at updates@root80k.com. And we have most of the ones that we're aware of posted at this time. So there's no specific timeline or formula when you're looking at large-scale events, festivals, or concerts. At this point, we can assume for the short term that the limited 10 people band at one time together is going to stay in effect. But again, as we know, we found out over this weekend, things change rapidly as more data is looked at and understood. So all the guidelines are subject to being updated on a very regular basis. And I guess that's about it.
Okay, Jim, I just need to ask a couple questions for clarification. So when we talk about events, we're talking about the large scale events such as, Ironman and the horse show and some of the other regional events. But when we're talking about specific individual events such as weddings, let's just use that as an example. Our understanding, please clarify this, is that you can have a wedding with 10 people. You just can't have a wedding with 50 people. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so now if I'm a lodging property or I'm a private rental, so if I'm a private rental and my private rental sleeps 15 people, I can only have 10 people staying in that house at one time. Is that correct?
No, not necessarily, because if they're doing a group activity together, maximum of 10. But if you have 15 guests staying in 8 bedrooms, it's similar to a hotel operation.
Okay, so you can have, if you have a lodging property that can sleep 25 people, you can fill it with 25 people. Is that right?
Yes, if it's the proper number of individual bedrooms as for normal operations, yes.
Okay, as long as you're following the guidelines set forth for
That's correct.
the short-term rental guidelines. Okay, so that clarifies it. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let us move on to our local Kickstart with Michelle Clement, who is our Director of Marketing for our organization. Michelle?
Can you hear me?
I can. So can everybody else, I'm sure.
All right, good morning. So, at this time, we're still not encouraging travel. We are encouraging people to recreate local, stay inspired, and be kind. In anticipation of Memorial Day weekend last week, we pushed out a video that in short read, we are known for our mountains, but we are also people. In order to welcome everybody back, we need your help. Please follow the CDC guidelines. Please limit travel. Please social distance. Please be patient. And most of all, please be kind. That was our message last week going into Memorial Day weekend. And as we continue through, we will be continuing to actively use all of our channels, from social media to our emails to our websites, to get the message out that, we have expectations in our communities, and that we want people to follow those recommended protocols if and when they do come to the Adirondacks. And that's really important to us in our communities. So we'll be continuing to use tools such as our Politely Adirondack signage that we revealed on our last call and has been getting out, and that includes signage on face masks, social distancing, and hand washing with the moose and the raccoons and other wild animals, about utilizing and following those protocols. On the Toolkit, which is roostadk.com/toolkit, anyone can download and print those signs. We have been distributing some out in the communities, but if you're looking for one quicker, you can go right to the link, download them, print them. The UPS store in Lake Placid, Stack Graphics in Tupper Lake are also creating different sizes and variations of those signs. So if people want a professionally printed sign, they can get them there. They can also download a lot larger sizes and order them from a vendor of their choice. So we'll be continuing to utilize those signage. And again, we've added another version with the face masks, where the first one just followed the CDC guidelines of please wear a face mask if you're unable to socially distance. We've created one that's on that toolkit now that just says please wear a face mask. We're going to continue to work with our communities to implement protocols and have those conversations on what we can do to help protect our communities and help protect our travelers. What can we do to help, help our businesses during this time and still keep our numbers very low? So those are some of the important priorities of ours. We're also looking to continue to support businesses. Early in mid-March, we quickly transitioned our weekly insider emails to getting information out about what restaurants are offering with regard to delivery and curbside pickup and takeout, and what other retail establishments offer curbside pickup. Those emails go out on Mondays and Thursdays. And as businesses are starting to maybe extend their hours or have more offerings, we're encouraging all businesses to take a look at what their listings are in the insiders and send any changes and updates to updates@roostadk.com. And we'll update those so we can continue to help get the most accurate information out to our local community residents, as well as others that can patronize those businesses. So please send that information to updates@roostadk.com. And so, again, the video, we will, in our follow-up email, we do want to send that out, the video, if you haven't seen it from last week. And we're continuing to look at ways to actively promote what the protocols are and a friendly and kind way of following those protocols and what those expectations are. One thing that we are being very careful of in our marketing, though, is not using the word safe. Safe can be a very subjective term. What is safe to one person may not be what people might think is safe to another. So really just utilizing and showing that we're doing all that we can to show that people are cared for, and showing it through our marketing and through our storytelling right now is really important, and let them, build that confidence for them to feel like they are safe, but not tell them to be safe. That makes sense.
It does. And I think, there is the reality of our situation is that we are not currently marketing to the traveler. We are still in the pause now, play later. We'd love to see you, but now is not the time. But we also know, and we saw this weekend, that people love the Adirondacks and they want to come here, and they're going to come here. And so our responsibility at this time to be successful, to keep our community members safe of all our communities, as well as the traveler, we need to be more diligent on sending the message in market, as well as before they get here, as to what the expectations are to come into our region. And that's what we need to really work diligently on. And we saw this weekend that it's a mixed bag. There was plenty of people that had masks, and then you saw groups of people walking together with no masks. And so that's something that we have to really focus on as an organization and as a community, because the balance is we need to help our businesses get opened, which is a struggle with the guidelines, and it's just a different world. And we need to keep our community members safe, and we need to keep our travelers safe. So it's a big nut to crack, and it's not an easy one, but all working together, swimming in the same direction, is going to bring us to success much quicker. So I think that's the message, is we all have to, it's not a sprint. We're not going to get to where we want to go tomorrow, but we're going to just have to keep chipping away at it until we get to where we need to be. And then we can, we'll be working on and sharing messaging on how we're going to be getting that to the travelers. They're coming into town, before they get here, while they're here, in all of our towns throughout all of our regions of responsibility. Anything else, Michelle, that you wanted to touch on?
I think that is just about it. I'd like to hand it over to Savannah Doviak, who is, as Mary Jane introduced her, our paid media coordinator, and there's a lot of other special projects. And adding to our toolkit right now are some resources with Love Your ADK. So with that, I'll hand it over to Savannah.
Hello. I'm excited to discuss our Love Your ADK website and the toolkit that we have created to help share this site with the community. So just a little bit of background. The Love Your ADK site officially launched on April 22nd. It's loveyouradk.org. It was put together with the help of the DEC, Adirondack Mountain Club, and Adirondack Council. We all kind of came together and had this goal of creating a single, accurate resource where those who come and recreate here can learn about Leave No Trace. There's some Adirondack 101 information, and then there's also the Love Your ADK Pledge. The pledge includes 8 guidelines, and those encourage responsible recreation. When you sign the pledge, you're committing to follow those guidelines and learn more about Leave No Trace. As of this morning, we have 412 signatures, so that's starting to grow and doing really well. So we really want to get this information out there, further train our traveler and create more awareness about responsible recreation. And then we put together the Love Your 80K Toolkit. This toolkit includes web banners that can be downloaded and then added to your website, and then that would link to the loveyour80k.org page. We've also included some social posts that you can share. And we just really encourage anyone who has travelers who are visiting your site as they prepare to travel here or get ready for a hike, paddle, so on, to put these banners up on your site. It's just another step that we can take as a community to be, responsible for outdoor spaces. We want people to come here and enjoy them, but we want to equip them with the proper education and tools to enjoy them responsibly. One of the most important messages we can get to them is just planning ahead and coming prepared, and that's really what Leave No Trace drives home, as well as then how to continue that and responsibly recreate once you're out there hiking and pedaling and such. So that toolkit can be found in the footer of the Love Your 80K site, and we can put that link in the chat, and it'll also be added to the ROOST toolkit page, which roostadk.org/toolkit, which we'll add to that chat as well. And then just another resource I want to share that we recently put together is an outdoor updates page on the ROOST site. So we've kind of gathered all of the outdoor updates that we had kind of scattered into one location where you can get, parking information, trail closures, limitations, other resources that will be helpful during this time. So that's kind of more of a concentration on what's going on during COVID versus just general outdoor education, which is on the Love Your 80K site. So if anyone's asking you about, what's going on, different trailheads and things like that, Roost 80K/outdoor updates would be a really good resource to get that information.
So any properties that would like to have this on their website, the Love Your 80K, that'll be on the toolkit, which is on the roostadk.com, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And then you'll download it, and there'll be like a PDF of some information, and then you'll see the downloads for the banners and social posts. And I've included my email in that document, so if anyone has any questions, they can feel free to reach out to me.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Michelle also put in the chat, this is the same place for the politely Adirondack signs that we have out, which is wash your hands, wear a mask, and the social distancing, which you can see there on our screen.
Yep. Next slide is the new version as well of the face mask. If people are looking for this variation, it is available on the toolkit.
And then there's also the outdoor updates is on the same website, roostadk.com. I'm not sure. Let's see. Are there?
Mom, you let the door.
There's some questions in regards to information that we can put in short-term rentals or for lodging properties to give to their overnight guests so that they have a clear understanding, more than just a poster, but kind of a bullet point. And we will talk about that internally and see what we can put together that could be helpful. There was a suggestion from Jessica Kelly, Adirondack do's and Adirondack, I can't say Adirondack do's, Adirondack don'ts, something like that. So we are actively working on that. We did take, yesterday was a light day for us in the office, but we're back at it today. So we will be back in touch with all of our upcoming programs to talk to the community as well as to the travelers coming into our region. We'll be sending out an email as a follow-up to this call today. And I just wanted to check one more time before we get off the call to see if Senator Little was able to join us today. Senator Little, are you happen to be on there and unmuted? And Dave Winchell from the DEC, were you able to get on the call? Michelle?
Unfortunately, he had a last minute conflict and is unable to join us this morning. He sends his regrets.
Okay.
Okay, I am unmuted.
Oh, hello, Senator Little. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you, and thanks for all that you're doing to help everyone be on the same page. You know, it's really, I hate to use the word exciting, but it is very exciting to see that we are working towards whatever our new normal is, but at least we're on the way to doing it. And of course, the worst thing that could happen is that we had to close down. So it is important. All the information you're putting out will be very helpful to keep people on track. You know, the same things are happening down here in the Lake George region. And I think your signage is great and the posters and information. So hopefully we're moving along and it's going to go well. But appreciate all your efforts. And I'm available. You know, our phones are answered by somebody eventually. Everybody's still working from home, but they're all connected by computer to the offices. So they still do emails and messages and all that we can do, trying to keep things going. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Little. One of the questions that keeps coming up, which is pretty difficult to answer, is people are wanting to know, what do we anticipate happening? You know, do we anticipate that we will be able to have larger events? Will we anticipate that, you know, we'll be able to have bigger weddings this summer? You know, and I know that's a hard question to answer, but if maybe you had some direction to give the people on the call in regards to, you know, to anticipate maybe the way it is now is maybe the way you should anticipate it being, or whatever you think the best messaging would be.
Well, actually, anything I say, keep in mind, I am the eternal optimist. So I believe that the 10 people won't last for very long. It's doing things step by step. And everything changes almost on a daily basis as we go forward, which is the most confusing part because even the guidance continues to change. But I think that as long as our new cases stay down and our hospitalizations and those facts, and hopefully our death rates all stay down from anyone dying from this, I think we'll move into a new place. And I actually think that the people that come up here and visit this summer are going to look around and say, why am I going back to an urban area when I could work from home? So it may be what we have needed for a long time, which is more year-round residents. So I'm hopeful in that area too. But it is an unknown. It has been from day one. But I see progress. And I can't wait to get my hair cut.
Me either. Thank you very much. In regards to the hiking and the parking, I know that Dave Winchell from the DEC was not available to join us. And thank you, Senator Little, very, very much for joining us today and for your input.
And I think that people coming into our area are coming from an area where there are rules and regulations and they've been shut down and they've had to do things differently. So if they were to come up here and have a free-for-all and think that we're wide open in every aspect, that would be a shock to them. So I think we're smart with what we're doing. I think the guidance and the signage and the information and the webinars to help people get set up for their business. I mean, nobody really knows what desanitizing your business entirely means. You know, you run around with a spray bottle or what is it? So a lot of that is such good information for our businesses, and we'll show people how it can be done.
Thank you very much. I wanted to just go back before we close out this call for today. I'm wondering if Supervisor Wilson from the town of Keene is available to speak a little bit to the parking and parking.
Yes, MJ, I'm here. Thanks so much. I'm sorry we didn't get the DEC online. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for
Okay,
joining us.
excellent. So we saw a lot of day traffic here in Keene, all along Route 73. Every parking spot was full. I'm sure people who drove past Cascade saw that as well. You know, it was a very busy weekend, even without the Canadian traffic. So the DEC really put a push on to have rangers out, to get seasonal rangers out, and the state police work with them. So it was busy. It seemed like a lot of day traffic. If this is an indication of what's to come, you know, people are feeling comfortable. And from reading the chat, I see there's you know, the majority of people were wearing masks, being safe, but there's still a good percentage who we need to reach and educate. I also saw in the chat someone put up the question, how are we going to track the impact of a busy Memorial Day weekend? And one thing I did in anticipation of that is, with help from Essex County Public Works and New York State DOT, I put a traffic counter out on Thursday on Route 73 south of Chapel Pond, so we can have a sense of what the traffic is, and then, you know, see if we do get an uptick in 2 weeks of our infection rate. You know, we can document that to tie it to the increase in traffic, you know, to show that what we're doing here is working, but how do we manage the visitors? So, you know, we're trying really hard to safely reopen and get back to business, and I appreciate all the help that ROOST is delivering.
Thank you very much. Supervisor Wilson, is there any communication in regards to a shuttle? Is that still, did I miss that? Did you touch on that as far in regards to the parking, or are we not there?
No, yeah, sorry, I lost the details there. Yeah, so as of yet, the Keene shuttle and the county shuttle are on hold. Our thinking right now is that that's more a phase 4 recreation service, and we want to be able to do that safely, you know, to protect the driver and the visitor. And right now, I just don't see how we could do that. So the shuttles, there's no start date for the shuttles. We're waiting to reopen as everyone else is. And there are a lot of services we don't have out that are typically out. There's no porta potties. You know, nobody's putting out porta potties, not just the town of Keene, because we can't maintain them. We can't, you know, adhere to the cleaning. The town of Keene doesn't have its front country stewards out. The DEC partners don't have summit stewards. So a lot of the places that could do the education that people have been talking about in the chat, especially about wear a mask, those resources just aren't on the ground. So we're really trying to adapt on the fly to handle the crowds, to gear up to educate the hikers and visitors and make sure they are wearing a mask and practice social distancing. But we just don't have the tools, the resources, the staff that are typically out in the high peaks.
Thank you very much for that update. Is there anybody, we can answer a couple of questions if anybody has any questions. We will be sending out a follow-up email in regards to this meeting today, with links and phone numbers and different forms. So we're going to try and accumulate all the resources that people have been looking for today into an email that we'll be sending out. If you don't get our emails, please go to roostadk.com. On the bottom, there is a sign up for our newsletter. You can go ahead and sign up there. Also, please follow us on social media. The best platform is our Facebook, and that's the Regional Office of Sustainable Tourism on Facebook. We'll be posting regularly there, as we have been. This is our 5th communication call, and we will be having another call within the next week to 2 weeks, depending on, you know, where we see the need to be. And then there's something just about Naj saying that currently the border is still not open, the Canadian border. So thank you, Naj, for that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. You are welcome to always reach out to our organizations with any questions, comments, ideas, suggestions, and we appreciate you participating in these calls. Enjoy the beautiful day, and take care, be kind, wear a mask. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.